The tech enthusiast community out there is pretty huge, and what's exciting for us tech enthusiasts is to just have a good chat about these technologies with our fellow peers, like-minded peers that is. And so in today's video here, I've got a guest slash friend slash space enthusiast, Lakshmi Narayana, and he is the head of content creation of my university space club Equinox, and I too am a content creator member of that team. So hey Lakshmi, nice to have you.
Hi Pawan.
You want to introduce yourself more?
Okay, so as Pawan said, I am Lakshmi Narayana and I'm the head of content creation for Equinox, a club which Pawan works for too. And like you said, I'm a tech enthusiast and a space enthusiast. So yeah.
Okay. This collaboration was in waiting from many days, and I was actually waiting to reach some sort of audience, because back then I only had like 50 subs, 60 subs, and now I almost have 450 above. So I thought it would be better to wait. Yeah. So I have compiled a few questions which you and I both would enjoy answering, or to just think about them. And some are space questions, some are space tech questions, some are normal tech questions, some are related to smartphones, some are related to other stuff. So it's a good mix, I guess.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it will be fun. So let's start with it. I'll just go with the questions. You can give your answers. So the first question I want to ask you is a very important question for our human existence, I think. So space exploration has been the main reason behind so many advancements actually these days. So sometimes I wonder, what if we humans never tried to explore space in the first place? Would we still be using our primitive technology, still using landline phones and stuff? Still all these advancements would have happened or not? What are your thoughts on this?
Good. Yeah. So although like a lot of researchers and scientists keep working on new technologies and everything, but behind every innovation / research, there's always a motivation, right? So there should be a reason why you will do such research, or there'll be a reason why you're gonna do this. So this reason could be anything. It's not like only space. It can even be oceans. It can be anything. But space is that one thing which kind of has a good budget, and is also very essential for a human race to explore the space. And hence it's the best of both worlds. Like I always keep saying this, that human species as a whole is a very curious species. Like curiosity is a thing which made us from men who was living in caves to us living in super cities, right? So this and space is like that biggest thing, like literally, which fuels this curiosity. And this curiosity, what the space wants to show us, coupled with scientists who wants to invent and develop something. So together, you get a lot of nice inventions, which was first aimed towards space exploration, space development, but always finds its way through consumer electronics and consumer technology.
Right. That's something, because we wouldn't have our radio technologies, we wouldn't have our wireless devices, all such sort of stuff.
Yeah, and it also goes to small things like a ballpoint pen. So it's a funny story that like when the US astronauts had to go to space and stay in ISS, so they had to take down notes, right?
Yeah.
So obviously there were typewriters and everything, but the simplest form of note taking is writing it down. But that time fountain pens were very prevalent, and fountain pen will not work in space because of the pressure difference and everything. So then they came up with the idea of a ballpoint pen, and now you see everywhere everyone uses ballpoint pen. Yeah, it's not only like those big technology like radio communications and satellite communications and everything. It also comes down to small things which we use day to day.
Yeah, I didn't really know about the ballpoint pen thing. I thought it was...
Yeah, so that's the thing. And then a funny twist, Russian cosmonauts, they used a pencil. So there's another way to look at it also. But yeah.
Right. So that was a good explanation, I think. Let's move on to the next question, because we have to keep this video short enough. So there have been people saying that everything except space travel can be electrified on these planets. on this planet. And I think even Elon Musk had to agree with this on some interview I've seen on the internet. And do you believe that this could happen? Can we electrify everything on the planet?
Okay, so see, electrifying thing is a very, a gray area. Like what you actually mean by electrifying thing. Okay, so in the real world, right, our machines at the end of the day will use the mechanical form of energy, right? So let's take the simplest example, like the first in our electrolyte which doesn't need to be electronized is electric toothbrush. Like you really don't need to electrify it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody uses it. So yes, electric toothbrush has a circuit and uses power and batteries and everything. But that power and batteries is used to move bristles, right? The bristles which brushes your teeth, and that's again a mechanical form of it. So you are just involving an electrical step to already a mechanical step. Something like that, right?
Correct.
So even if you take cars, I mean, yes, you're electrifying cars, but at the end of the day, you're gonna run a motor, right, which is mechanically connected to the wheels.
Correct. Yeah.
Get it, right? So that's the thing. So when it comes to spacecraft, possibly, so right now all the spacecraft use the force of exhaust, like the fumes that comes out, the rocket boost, right? So that is not a mechanical, that's a chemical energy, right? So that's a complete different thing. And why not mechanical is because we kind of need friction, or we kind of need something to push, right? Like something, but in space we have nothing to be pushed against. Hence mechanical won't work. But again, you have inertial devices, which by the moment of inertia of that specific mass, it can propel the spacecraft forward. And now the question comes, how will you move that heavy object, that mass of inertia, right?
Yeah.
The big object. So to move that, you can have gears and everything. To move that, you can also have, an electrical circuit powering it up, right? So that can be called as electrification of space. And another thing which we can say, which is more close to electricity, like as a whole, is something called an EM drive. Okay, so EM drive is something which everybody is working for. So what an EM drive is it's a continuous thrust. Okay, so if you see a rocket, it provides a huge amount of thrust, and as the fuel goes down, the amount of thrust reduces, right? So if you draw a graph or something, it's going to be like a downward slope, the amount of force versus the amount of thrust provided versus time. But in case of an EM drive, it's going to be a constant thing. Like imagine one constant of 5 kilonewtons of force. So in the first second, it's going to be less, like just 5 kilonewtons, right? But when you add another 5 kilonewtons right after it, it's going to multiply, right? So it's going to exponentially go higher. And this kind of works on the core concept of electromagnetism. So I think once people start working on EM drives, that's electromagnetic drives, I think then you can obviously say even space travel is electrified.
Yeah. I don't know, we are just relying on the basic stuff which we started with. Yeah. We got rockets also which are electrified in the future. That's crazy to even think about.
Yeah, but then again, that will be very uneconomical. I mean, I rather prefer atomic fusion rockets or nuclear fusion rockets over electrified rockets, because it's electricity is not, or electrons are not, is not an efficient
efficiency matters, correct. I suppose I was telling that. Cool. Okay. So I've even heard that non-private space organizations around the world don't get enough funding by the government to carry out the projects. Even NASA gets less according to reports. So what if these organizations actually got enough money or more money? Where do you think we can reach in this modern space race if these non-profit or non-private organizations got the actual sum which they're supposed to get?
So this again comes down to country economics and everything, which we are not the kind of people to talk about. But then again, the second point, which is the motivation behind space research, right? So it's true that space organizations all around the world, or especially the government space organizations all around the world, they don't get enough funding from the governments, right? Which is it's a sad fact. I mean, defense budget of America is more than the space budget, right? But again, there it comes. When we say when there's budget allocated for something, it's something for the betterment of our country, right? And for space, it's always after some amount of time. It's for a long-term goal, right? like think about this, like for example, when the government funded the Hubble Space Telescope, it will take a lot of time to put it up there, correct, right? And once it's put up there, it's not like it's immediately gonna help the country in some way, right? Because see, space research, more than helping a country, it's gonna help humanity as a whole. It's gonna help, humanity progressing forward, right? But in this world where everything is economy based and country is first plus next humanity, which we can clearly see in environment degradation and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no motivation for, like, so for example, we had that Trump thing of space race where they want to weaponize space, and imagine, and there are international laws which prevent that, like space is no man's land, you cannot weaponize space, right? Imagine some countries overturn it, and in that situation, obviously you cannot give it to private sectors to weaponize it, right? So or else you'll have a sci-fi movie. So in that situation, I think like the defense budget of America will obviously go to NASA also, right? Because then country comes as a priority, because you need space weapons out there. That's one thing. And another example could be in the entire space. Like yes, there was a Cold War, but there was also a space race between USSR and USA, right? Yeah, and that was funded by the government. Like they spent more and more so that they get the first man on moon, or they get the first satellite out there or something, right? So yeah, again, I think as a space agency, you got to tell the country in such a way it's betterment for the country and not humanity, because that's sadly how it works. And yeah, as long as there's correct motivation where humanity serves as well as the country, it's always going to remain the same, and that's just a sad truth.
Okay, so we might reach great heights if we have more money, isn't it?
Yeah, we would, because in that sense, it'll all, like for every scientist working, they always feel like we are supported by the country to do this work, right? So yeah, it obviously will reach much greater heights, because no matter how fast and rapid a private company can do whatever they can, a government organization doing the same thing is always better for everybody, because they'll always have somebody to keep in check, right? And they are not about proprietary stuff, more about patents and sharing the knowledge, right? Yes, the private companies want to have that proprietary stuff so they can't share it to anybody else.
Yeah, correct.
So yeah, it's so.
And it's more like private organizations concentrate more on the profits side too.
Exactly. That's because you can't blame them. It's a company. They have to stay afloat, right? Yeah. But yeah, so that's the thing. So if government backed up more space research organizations, like out of everything else, space research organization, so yeah, I guess then there will be more advancements done. But again, it's not going to be like magic powder that government is funding, so research time gets cut down in half. It's not like that. It's just that they'll have more confidence, and more people will be ready to take up the task and start doing it.
Okay, right. I also know that you are a big fan of consumer electronics. So am I.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. Like tech, like it's a very good time.
I started this whole. I became an enthusiast starting from these basic smartphones. Right? Everyone starts from there only, I think. Now there are.
This is one of the best things.
Huh? Yeah. I didn't get
which is very prevalent.
Yeah, very very prevalent and very relatable, this word as of
correct. Yeah.
And now there are too many gadgets coming up, and there are multiple form factors, smartphones, tablets, laptops, and more. And each year they want to bring up a new device, foldables, rollables, all that kind of stuff. And we use each of them to accomplish a certain set of tasks, right? Like there are a few things which laptops can do and tablets can't do, or a tablet can do, or a phone can't do. What are your views on how we can minimize this, make a single device which can fulfill all our tasks with the same efficiency and the same user experience?
Yeah, so this is a very discussed topic in forums and everything. Okay, like that one device which combines everything together.
Yeah.
So in a very realistic point of view, we can never achieve that. Okay, so let's think in this way. So when everyone, like let's start from the industrial revolution. So when everybody was making machines to do their tasks, there were so many machines which had like a lot of functionality. It could do this, it could do that, it could do this, and people thought, okay, this is that one design which combines a lot of things, right? But then came computers, and then everything went apart again. And then once computers, and then once IBM starts making business computers and everything, we again came to the conclusion that now there's a computer and everything can be done with one thing. But then came PCs and smartphones and phones, right? So again everything got disrupted.
Yeah.
And then you had the smartphone, which is achieving that thing. Like for example, like
you can do anything with your smartphone now. Everything.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. And year by year it still gets more powerful, right?
It is, yeah.
And it's gonna take one more device, like a rollable device or smart screens or VR or some brain implant which like Elon Musk is working on, to again distort everything, right? So technically it's not like it's a problem with the human thing. It's not a problem, it's more like it's expected, because when everything comes together there's always that one thing which will set it apart again, and that is what innovation is, right? And if we didn't have that, then we all could have been stuck with that machine which we thought was better. But I still say now we are way more advanced than what we were then.
Yeah,
right?
we are.
And that happened because of the disruptiveness of that one product.
Yeah, there should be something which comes and tells, okay, this is not this, I can do everything.
Correct.
Yeah.
So how we can prevent it is, we cannot prevent it because it's always going to happen. Like there is something out there to be discovered, right? And in all honesty, we will end, like the thirst for that the entire chain will end when we invent the universe as a whole, like when we make a universe, and that just unifies everything, and there's nothing apart from that, right? So I think so we literally have to become gods then. I think that is when we are like, okay, we have made something which combines everything,
and now there is nothing more to do.
There's nothing more to do. I mean, correct. So I think that is when it will end, or that is how it ended before us, and hence we are here. But that's another thing. So that's the thing, okay. And now coming to the other question, like how do we at least approach it? So this is actually a very like for example, there are two things here. There's a technology point of view, and then there's a corporate point of view. Okay. So when you have a technology point of view, I personally thought like a laptop is the best thing. Like getting a laptop with good specs is actually a really good thing, because remember at one point in time you could put a SIM inside a laptop, right?
Yeah.
For those voice calls and everything. Yeah. So I personally thought when I was small, I'm like, okay, laptop is actually cool. But then came smartphones, and then now I am like, okay, I think smartphones is the best thing.
Yeah.
Fine. But then in all honesty, I think iPad is the best thing for future.
I agree.
Coupled with foldable technology of Samsung.
Yeah.
Because think about it, like imagine a foldable, like instead of having like whatever, a foldable which can open to a big screen. So when it opens to a big screen, you obviously have the capabilities of a laptop or a PC. When it's a small screen, you have a capability of your this one, or smartphone, right? And you can, and obviously there are accessories, like for example you need a mechanical keyboard. It's not a big deal, you can obviously connect a mechanical keyboard to a phone, right? To a tablet, right? So so I guess the best of all the worlds will literally be a screen, and it's just a thin screen, and then and attachments for everything. So you go to a company and they'll just send you a screen, and then you'll be like, okay, I want a game. So you buy a portable graphics.
So like again we go back to the modular tech.
Correct.
Yeah.
Go buy a graphic. Imagine I want to become like I type a lot and I work a lot. Okay, go buy a mechanical keyboard.
Yeah.
Imagine I do both, so you get all three. So that is the end of it. So instead of companies giving us, oh, this is what we think you want, we buy what we want.
Yeah.
To get that thing, right?
That makes sense.
So like for example, in all honesty, like imagine there's a person who doesn't like photography, right? So he doesn't need to buy a camera. Like that was the case, right? In case of like when you want to buy a DSLR, you don't buy a DSLR. That's it, right? But now, if you, no matter how much, like if you buy a 20,000 smartphone or something, you will get a decent camera, right? I mean that's a selling spec also. So I mean the only thing we can achieve now is giving the choice to the customers, like, okay, you decide what you want, we give it to you. So I think that is the thing.
That makes sense. We can do that actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so sometime in the far future, people will stop owning their own vehicles, and majority will be relying on ride sharing. Say an electric car will be shared by multiple people to get around with ease, and that too, those cars might be self-driving too. And I am also excited about this happening, but how efficiently do you think this might come into picture? Because whenever I think about this, no, I see more problems, especially with people empathizing than finding solutions. What are your thoughts on this? How do you think people will actually care about these ride sharing concept if it comes in the future?
I don't think they will. I mean, see, at one point of time, when like public buses, right, like metro and bus and rail and all that stuff, right, they were luxury. Like you can go to, like, you can use railways only if you are rich or if you're in the upper segment of life, right? But now we know where we stand, and so was airlines at one point of time. But now, yeah, there is like economical seat tickets and everything, right? So that's the thing. So to be very honest, I think humans as a race have always been okay with sharing because we have been social beings, right? Because like think about like the olden times, like extremely old. You had chariots.
Yeah.
So chariots is just what? There's a wagon behind, and then there's a driver in front, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And then that chariot's evolution has come to an auto right now, like because 3 people or whatever. There's one driver in front and there are people behind, right? So once we sit in an auto, it really doesn't matter to us who's in front of us, right? As long as it drives safely. Yeah. So if that front of us is just replaced by nothing, but it still drives, I guess, I mean, we won't have a problem because it still drives. I get to point A to point B. So, and like for example, let's see a metro. So metro has the driver in the upmost front, right? Like we cannot see it technically. There's a barricade separating us, right? Yeah, but we still use it like normal people, right? And it's not weird at all, right? So imagine at one point of time they just remove that, it's self-driving. We won't find any difference.
Yeah, correct. But see, now also we have ride sharing, we have those hireable scooters, and we have metros, we have autos, everything. Still people have not stopped purchasing their own vehicles.
Correct.
Would people stop it, or would they still be purchasing their own stuff?
So in that case we can see Singapore. So I have heard that in Singapore, like, the public transport gets a lot of attention. Like governments encourage Singaporeans to use public transport over
in Singapore buying a car is too expensive.
Exactly. Reason being, the public transport is so well laid out and so good that as like obviously some people buy a car to flex, or some people buy a car because they like cars, which is okay. I mean, to flex that is personal choice, but because they love cars, and that's totally fine, right? I mean, you can have a thing for cars, but point is 80% of the people buy cars so they can go from point A to point B. Now if they can go from point A to point B for cheaper, faster, hygienic and like convenient way, I really don't think it will affect them buying cars. Because like how can I give this an example? Like for example, let's say owning horses. So at one point in time, owning a horse was the only way of transportation. Like obviously walking was there, but owning horses was something which everybody does so that they can go from point A to point B. But nowadays, horses still like people own horses, right? But who are they? Like
rich
those
people,
horse enthusiasts who race. We call it rich people, but again, people who love riding horses and people who race horses, stuff like that, right? Because there are alternatives to traveling in horses right now. So I think, I mean, it's totally fine if cars also become that type of breed, because at one point, I mean, that's why we call it horsepower still, right? I mean, a remnant to the past, right? So maybe in future our transportation will develop car power, like okay, this bus has 70 car powers, that means it could replace 70 cars.
Okay.
So I mean, cars will just become that thing of a collectible thing which car enthusiasts just own and they race, but the entirety of the public just uses public transport and whatever self-driving stuff, and that's how it's going to stay.
So that will stay, that will not go.
It should. I mean again, like we're giving the example of horses, so even at the end of the day, like even if there's one person who likes horse, he will still keep a horse, right? I mean, okay, yeah, now horse is a living thing, so even if no one likes horses, horses will be still alive. It's not like cars will be moving around or something. But yeah, I mean, that's just sad. If everybody doesn't want to, then yeah, I mean, that's just sad. They'll just be in museums, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, now let's go back to consumer tech. So Apple is that one company which is pretty much dominating the whole tech development part of the thing. Like, even Samsung, which makes high quality stuff like displays and all, even they try to do exactly what Apple does with their smartphones. Recently I got to know that Samsung also removed chargers from their boxes. And what do you think is the reason behind this? Why do you think that other brands don't try to standardize things like how Apple does?
I mean, this is one of a very opinionated style of answer, but which is kind of true. So it all comes down to Apple being an American company and Samsung being a South Korean company. It sounds dumb, but hear me out. So see, like America has always been that one country where if they do something, other countries try to follow and model.
Yeah,
which is
true.
Not a bad thing. I mean, it's okay because they do some things good.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Things, and the things that do bad, yeah, countries do not model it or copy it, and that's there. I mean, that's okay, right? So, and Apple is literally like one of the faces of America, along with Google and Facebook. So, like if America had to be represented by companies, I 100% sure everybody will say these names, because till now I know so many people who still don't know where Samsung is from. But if I ask where Apple or Google is from, they'll know. They'll be like, yeah, it's from United States, and it's correct, right? So that's one thing, okay. And second thing is, Apple, to all its weird stuff and quirky things and everything, they have the most devoted fan base, and they have a fan base bigger than any sports team also, and that's just a fact, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And what Samsung is doing and what every other company is doing is they don't see. I am 100% sure that Samsung and all other companies in the respective countries have been doing that area. Like for example, Xiaomi leads in China, Samsung leads in South Korea. India is a battle between everybody, but I still say Samsung leads in India. So that's there. So they have won every other ground. Now everybody wants to win the American ground, right? Like Apple and Samsung and Xiaomi and everything, right? And they tried in their own ways. I mean, obviously they have been trying, right? But then that's it. I mean, that's a very American problem where they were just stuck to iPhone and that entire ecosystem and all that stuff, right? So if you cannot beat them by being you, what they're trying to do is trying to beat them, but being better at it.
Correct.
Did you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So iOS doesn't give you a charger, and probably people of America think, okay, that's the standard now. So obviously getting a charger in box is better than not getting a charger, okay? But again, they're just going down the standards and are like, no, okay, we also don't give standards, so we have the same standard, which is not a good thing, which is one of the worst things ever. But again, it's just to win the last round of America. And I really don't like this extreme competition there, because it affects everything else, because they are not standard specifying, no charger box in America to only America, right? Everybody else suffer. Like for example, Indian companies here, or companies selling here, when we buy something, we actually expect to buy the entire deal. We don't like buying another thing extra, right? It is it's a correct mentality, to be honest, right?
And we are more money-minded people. We have to spend judiciously in this country.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it will not make sense. I mean, it's like buying a car and not giving us the keys to it, or not giving us the the fuel hole. You're like, okay, you should buy the fuel tank separately. That makes no sense. I mean, that is literally what a charger is for a phone. Right?
Yeah, right.
So that's it. But what I think America, like all these other companies have to do is, whatever this specific marketing models they have, to keep it to America, like keep it there. If they want it that way, let them keep it there. But for the entire world, keep it a normal thing, like keep it a standard, which Samsung out of all the companies should do, because they have enough resources to keep it specific, like country specific. And we have seen that Exynos chips, and they want to reduce these prices in Europe and Indian regions, and hence you have Exynos chips. But in America you get Snapdragon, which faces a lot of backslash because performance issues, which is correct. But again, are Indians that performance hungry? I don't think so. We are more like budget. Like, okay, for the money I pay, do I get the
Only
good performance?
enthusiasts care about all this.
Yeah, enthusiasts care about
Yeah.
it. Correct. And that's the thing, right? So, no matter how big of enthusiast you are, no one will ever accept the point of not having a charger included in the box.
Correct,
That's just dumb.
Yeah, that
But
makes sense.
again, so use that model to America, but use a standard model which you were, the company you were, to everywhere else, right? So that would be fair to all the consumers, both in America and outside America. And I think that is what the issue is.
And
So,
I
to
heard that
dominate it.
Brazil, that country,
Yeah,
even
they filed a case
against
Correct.
Apple.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's totally fine. I mean, everybody will support that thing, right? Because it makes no sense. I mean, how you can say it's for environmental reasons, but I really don't think that's just a marketing trick. Okay, see, if you tell environmental reasons, okay, but does that mean you'll stop researching on efficient batteries? Because the reason why you get an adapter in box is because your battery and a USB port has been built for that specification. So that provides you the optimum thing, right? And hence, like for example, if no one followed this, then I will have a Google charger and I use it to charge my Samsung, which is not an efficient thing, right? It destroys Samsung as a phone, as the batteries, right? So yeah, you can say environment reason, but you'll obviously expect consumers to buy the latest on the greatest adapter, right? Like imagine OnePlus, they have 65 watts right now, and imagine they stop giving it, right? So when they have the OnePlus 10 or OnePlus 11 and they start bragging about 120 watts charger, all houses have a 60 watt charger or 65 watt charger.
Yeah.
And they are not going to keep a 120 watts charger.
You can't make full
Why
use
will
of your
people-
charger, like your phone.
Yeah, so why will people go out and buy 120 watts? Like, it's fine, I don't care. You get that thing, right?
Yeah.
But if they go and buy, it's another package, it's another box, it's another plastic layer,
Correct,
right?
correct.
So where's the environment reason here?
Yeah.
So it makes no sense. It's just a marketing gimmick of, oh yeah, we're going environment. And I really hope this thing stops. But yes, environment needs our help, but small gimmicks like this is not going to help anybody.
Correct, that's true. And it's also not like iPhones are very efficient with their batteries also. They have been having
Correct,
problems
yeah.
from years.
They have been, yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, it's going to affect, I think I saw from MKVG or something, this point of view towards this battery situation is going to affect the making of batteries also, like the battery R&D. Like for example, the future of batteries is graphene batteries, and graphene is that one thing which is highly efficient and extremely thin and has a way more power than lithium-ion batteries. But now once we research to graphene batteries, you really need another power system to power it up, right? Maybe not a USB-C, maybe something else, or maybe a different technology of adapter, right? So that time you will expect people to buy another adapter, right? So what's the point? I mean, what environment saving are you doing? You're just asking people to buy more of your accessories for no reason, and that's not right.
Yeah, right. Sense. And also, there's one more question I want to ask you is, so it's a pain to know that even Android is still not very close to creating an ecosystem, as good as Apple has done. And of course, there are so many obvious reasons for that, why Android phones are not able to do it properly. And how do you think Android phone makers can actually make this happen at a faster pace, so that even Android users can have that seamless experience? If an Apple customer gets into the ecosystem of Apple, he won't care about anything else. He wants an Apple device to make it seamless. So how do you think Android makers can also do this, or this Android ecosystem can come into place? At least something close to how Apple is doing.
Yeah. So this ecosystem thing is obviously good for consumers. I mean, yeah, you get an ecosystem like seamless connectivity between this and that and all that stuff, right? That's true. I mean, I agree to that point. At the same point of time, maintaining an ecosystem will obviously make the corporate slack or make the company slack. Like for example, we can see Apple. I mean, at one point in time, they were the innovative people, right? I mean, they got a lot of new tech and everything. But I think all of us can say now is there's nothing new in their tech right now. Computational photography was done by Google, an Android thing. Then having big screens, having high refresh rates was done by some Chinese company and popularized by Samsung. And having big sensors in the phones and having 100x periscope zoom and everything, using the hardware tricks was again done by Samsung and Xiaomi or Huawei. So that's the thing. So what happens is now the biggest thing of people stuck with Apple or the iOS ecosystem is they cannot leave it. Everything is there, which is a really good thing. That's difficult to achieve, obviously, right? But at the same point of time, it's gonna make those consumers dumb, and they're not gonna obviously look out for something new.
Correct.
So even if, like for example, iPhone 11 still doesn't have a high refresh rate, right? But again, the consumers never ask for it. They'll be like, I don't know what high refresh rate is. If you give, I'll be happy with it.
Yeah.
You get that thing, right?
Yeah.
But if an Android phone does the same thing, because we have options to move away, you're obviously gonna be like, bro, where's the refresh rate? And this was also seen in Pixel. So when Pixel 4 came out, Pixel being Google's child, when they didn't have a ultra wide lens, they got a lot of backslash, right? And that's a good thing that they didn't involve in Pixel 6. Why? Because ultra wide lens is more important than telephoto lens. And this feedback was possible because Google fears that people can move away from Google Pixel and go to any other Android phone, right? So this keeps the companies up to their toes. They're like, okay, we need to do something. We need to do this. Getting it, right? And that's the one thing. And second thing is, it's kind of good that Android doesn't have, like for example, let's say Samsung has an ecosystem, Google has an ecosystem, Xiaomi has an ecosystem. Imagine that happens, right? They start researching and developing in it, right? Then competition dies. Like, instead of consumers going out and seeing the best in the market, they're going to see what is going to fit in my ecosystem, which is not a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So again, another iPhone example.
Hinders the new innovations.
Hinders a new innovation, right?
Yeah.
So and then yes, there should be some work towards it, but I guess this work towards it should be led by companies like Google and Samsung, like mostly these two, because they have the resources and they have the tech, right?
Yeah.
So if you remember, there are reports saying Google Pixel 6 will be that's the new one. 6, right?
6 only, yeah. You have 5
6,
already.
correct.
Yeah.
Google Pixel 6, yeah. So no, I was confused with 5A and 6. Yeah. Anyway, so Google Pixel 6 is going to come with their own chip called Whitechapel. That's Google's own SoC, built along with ARM technology and Samsung, right? That's one really, really good thing. The second thing, which is more important, it's going to use that ultra wideband technology, which Apple uses. So I think Google as a company, like I really, really hope they do this, but Google as a company, as an open source and something for the community, let's say this ultra wide technology is not very limited to a Pixel phone. It's limited to any Android devices.
Okay.
Get it?
Yeah.
So if that's possible, then you have Samsung making Samsung earbuds for the ultra wideband technology, which Google Pixel made, okay, but available to all Androids.
Okay.
Get it?
Yeah.
So you won't have the ecosystem of a company like Google or Samsung, but you'll have an ecosystem of Android.
Yeah.
And now, once that is possible, imagine how big it would be as compared to Apple, and you could already see this example in Android TV. So you have so many companies having Android TV in the thing, right? You have Samsung. Samsung has their own OS also, but they still use Android TV, right? You have what is it? LG. You have this small company like Sharp and all these companies, right? So now what is it? So Android TV, imagine it becomes seamless with Android. So you could use a Samsung phone to control an LG TV while listening to like a Sony headphones, and all will be seamless. Get it? So is that a bigger ecosystem? Because that will enable competition, right? Because Sony and Bose in that situation, being part of the ecosystem is a very small thing. Just comply with those rules. But then they'll still have competition, right? Okay, I have to be part of the ecosystem. No, I will be part of the ecosystem. You get that thing, right?
Yeah. That would be great.
And it will be better because that is the pure sense of Android. Android is a very big thing. It's not a small thing that fits in your hand. It's the entire thing, right? And it has the potential and the companies using Android to make this possible. But again, this can be only possible when companies work together. Like for example, Samsung is actually leading it as they're working with Microsoft.
Yeah, they are.
So Samsung and Microsoft have the Samsung Dex and everything and all that stuff, right?
Correct,
So which is a really, really, really good thing.
Yeah.
And it's good for the entire thing. So let's say, Google joins a venture, like let them make different phones, but they join the venture for making Android great. And then you can have like an AMD or something to join the venture again. So then imagine if AMD joins, and obviously Intel will join. So one small by small will be these companies for Android, and yeah, that seamless connectivity is simple because if the major producers, like see, Microsoft is the biggest thing in PC, so they have there. Samsung is there. You have Google who owns Android is there. That's it. Everybody else will just follow the line, right? So that's a very company thing. I mean, I hope they do it, but then I stand against having Google ecosystem, Samsung ecosystem, but I rather stand for having an Android ecosystem, which will be exactly the Android ecosystem, and that will be miles better than any other thing. And imagine even Amazon joins this thing. Like they have the Amazon Echo and everything, right? Echo and all that. They've just joined the Android framework and done. You have the biggest. You have Apple versus everything else and coolness. So I think that it's not like a competition to Apple, but it's going to be better for everybody.
Yeah, of course, yeah, sure. Why not?
So I think that ecosystem we should all work for.
Correct. This was a nice conversation to have actually about this ecosystem stuff.
Yeah. I hope Google hears this.
Yeah, hopefully. So now, ending this video, let's talk more about your interest in this tech world. Like, would you like to share your own interests?
My interest is basically, like I like the space of innovation in the tech world. So I like photography, although I never owned a DSLR, and that's because I couldn't.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Photography is photography.
Yeah, correct. But no, that was not true before. And so my phones have been Moto G2, then Moto G6, and now Pixel 4a. So G2 and G2, okay, G2 was a very bad camera. I'm not going to defend that. G6 had a decent camera, but it never had RAW capability, capturing in RAW, which is very important for photography editing and everything, right?
Correct.
So yes, I did like photos, but at the same point in time, I don't get the entire full experience, right? But now Pixel has RAW capability and it is the best camera. So there we go. So I could get back to photography, right? So that's the thing. So tech innovation enables people to follow their reaches. Like for example, you have the internet, which allowed everybody to follow what they want to. You have content creators like me and you who do it, and for Equinox we had a platform where we can share our space knowledge. You have so many clubs, right? I mean, so many people, so many corporations, so many organizations, so many content creators doing what they like and putting it out there. And that has been enabled because of technology and things which we can get on our own system, right? Like see, I mean, right now you have a laptop, phone, something which is capable to do editing and things which production houses used to do it.
Yeah, correct.
You get it, right?
Yeah.
That's allowed us to enable that thing because of powerful softwares and powerful hardware, right? And you obviously, and then still you can push the boundary. Like for example, there's so many tech channels on YouTube, which is a good thing. At the same point in time, it's a very lot of people, right? But then what do people do what would you do individually? You would like to get new content out. You would like to focus on production, focus on this, focus on that. And that makes you rise up, right? So, and that rise will be obviously in par with technology. Like for example, if Red, the camera company, imagine they come out with a budget 8K camera. Just imagine. Imagine the amount of ripples it will create in the entire market.
Everyone would have a
Everybody
camera.
Everybody will get good quality production. Everybody will get into video editing.
That is super
right?
crazy.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So that is what excites me. Like, like stuff like this, like one small change could bring ripples that changes the entire world. And we could see that, and we already have seen that so many times. Like for example, the first iPhone, that changed the entire thing. Then you have Samsung pushing in S8, having the Edge variant. And then they pushed S9 and S8 was that infinity display, right? Like zero bezels.
Now we don't even have bezels on our phones.
There you go. So they pushed it again. It was a small thing. I mean, I get it, but to find out how impactful it was, imagine the iPhone SE2, like how awkward we were to see that in today's world. That just showed how impactful that was, right?
Correct.
And then now you have under the screen displays, under the screen fingerprints, under the screen camera, which few companies are working on. So just imagine one plain screen.
No camera hole.
Yeah, nothing. I mean no camera, nothing. It's just one plain screen. Like remember the McLaren edition, the concept phone from OnePlus, where they could hide the camera wearing that chromatic
We were
glass.
just dreaming about this like 6-7 years ago, and we already have it.
Exactly, and now it's happening.
And we thought we would have it in the next 20-30 years or something.
Yeah, and the best thing is, although everything is happening, it still comes under consumer electronics. Like it is not outlandish, right?
Yeah.
Like imagine the same innovation happen in the space industry, like a new rocket, like new rockets again and again, right? Imagine that happened. Even if a like, yes, I mean, SpaceX is working so hard for getting those space SN10s, SN11s, and all the rockets, Falcons, and everything, right? But irrespective of how much innovation is happening, it's not consumer, right? I mean, we cannot benefit from it. Get it, right? So that innovation will never affect us in a very, very strong way as innovation in consumer electronics does. Like, if Samsung gets a 240 Hz screen, it's going to be put in the next phone, which is going to come in consumer's hand, right? When they made the foldable screen, it came to consumer's hand 3 times. So that's the thing. So research here, like in consumer electronics, is so fast, and it puts the technology right in your hands, and that is the cool part of it. Like, this is that one field where research happens and the result is so immediate, it comes in your hand immediately. Like computational photography, like Hubble used computational photography for getting those, you know, satellite photos and everything, stitching photos together into one compo stack. Telescopes, you know, 80K, 90K, 1 lakh telescopes use that for stitching together photos to get that one photo. Pixel in 2015 used HDR plus and stacked images and got HDR plus photos, right?
Yeah, correct.
That's consumer electronics. So that technology here. So there you go. I mean, destructive stuff.
So that's the whole video then. We spoke so much today. Oh my god. Yeah.
I mean, it's tech and people liking tech, so it'll never be a small convo.
Yeah. And yeah, that was about the whole conversation that I wanted to have. And this ends our video. Thank you very much for making time and joining.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And thank you for inviting me. It was fun talking to this in a very semi-formal way. Let's not say formal.
Yeah, it's never formal on my channel.
I mean, see, formal talks about this will become weird. I mean, formal talks about Apple, Android, blah blah blah. But semi-formal talks like this are fun.
When we have the choice of not being formal, why be formal at all?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's correct.